So today we're going to be replacing my granite sink to a stainless steel sink. We're gonna make it like one whole big sink instead of like the divided sink. So first things first is we gotta go underneath and we have to make sure you put a bucket underneath, because while you're taking these off, water will be dripping. Okay, so I have this one disconnected. So next is I can remove the garbage disposer. On this side here, I'm gonna see if I can disconnect it from here so I can pull this thing out as well. So I got this part disconnected, and now this whole thing comes down from here. So now we got this part of the sink disconnected, and we're gonna take off this garbage disposer to disconnect this other part of the sink. I mean, you can also leave it if you want, but it just makes it easier to take the old sink out. Okay, so to take the garbage disposer out, all you gotta do is twist this counterclockwise. And there it goes. Next thing you will have to do is you will have to disconnect the wire from the garbage disposer from underneath. Be careful when you turn it upside down, because there's still some water that was left underneath here. I will actually be replacing the garbage disposer as well, because this one is broken. It's not working anymore. First thing you have to do is you'll have to take off this screw right here, and then the plate comes off. So it exposes the wires. Remember to turn off or unplug everything from the outlet first before doing this. So that was the first step that we did. So, and then you turn this counterclockwise. Okay. And it disconnects from the wire. Oh, there's still another one here that's hooked up to the ground right here that you have to undo the screw, because there's actually 3 wires that's hooked up to the garbage disposer. Now that I loosened up all the wires, the whole thing just comes right out. So you got your ground, your neutral, and your live wire. Basically the green, the black, and the white. Okay, now that we've removed the garbage disposer and did the wire connections, next thing we have to do is we have to remove the faucet, or at least the connectors. This way we don't have to remove the whole faucet. We can just remove the connectors to where the water line connects to. So it will be this one here, and for the cold, and then over here for the warm. So we have these two to disconnect. Okay, so we're gonna need a 17mm wrench to loosen up the water connectors here on both sides. Okay, so now that we have loosened up this connector here for the cold side and for the warm side, when we pull the sink out, we're gonna have to remove these connectors from the other end. It'll be easier to remove it when the sink is out, because we're gonna be needing these when we hook up our new sink. So I have a Whirlpool reverse osmosis system, and the faucet. To remove the faucet, you just have to hold on to the base and twist this counterclockwise, and it comes off. Now to remove this base here, you have to remove these two screws. This one right here, and another one in here on the inside part of it. You can see that right there. So I'm just gonna loosen that up. Okay, so I got the faucet out from the hole. I had to go underneath the sink because, as you can see, loosening up those two screws there, they're hooked up to this clamp right here. So this clamp here kind of like opens up as you tighten it. It goes underneath so you can't pull it out. So once you loosen it up, you back it down a little bit, and then you can kind of like squeeze it like this. And there's two of them, one on each side. And then you kind of like slowly, you'll need somebody to help you pull it out on the other side. Or you can just totally unscrew it all the way. So basically, when you screw it in, this kind of like goes up. It moves up closer to here, which tightens it against the granite countertop. Okay, so I have to remove some of the connectors to my reverse osmosis, at least my blue line, my red line, and the black line. And these connectors are easy to remove the hose, so you have to press on both ends. As you can see, there's like a little lip here. You have to kind of like push it down on both sides, and then have somebody help you pull the hose out. So basically, the hose was like connected down here like this, and then you just have to press down on that blue lip, and then it releases the hose. Again, you have to push this piece down on both ends, so you can see how it can compress. You have to use 2 fingers on each corner and have somebody help you pull it out. Okay, so now that I have the reverse osmosis faucet removed, we can basically pull the sink out. I forgot to tell you that make sure you have a bucket underneath, because when you remove the hoses from the filtration system, there might be some leftover water in the tank that's gonna gush out. And I was trying to pull the sink up, but it's too heavy for me, and I don't have enough leverage to pull on just one side. So we're gonna have to remove this part here as well, so I can put both hands underneath and grab underneath to pull the whole sink out, or maybe have somebody help me. And with that, we have to go back under the sink, and I have to twist this off counterclockwise to remove this setup. Okay, update. Since I don't have the pipe wrench to hold this and unscrew it, since it's all caked in there from years and years of mineral deposits, and I couldn't pull the sink out, it was too heavy. So I ended up getting my jack from the car. Had to kind of like build it up with a couple of blocks, and then put a piece of wood there just underneath the sink. All I needed was a little pressure, and voila, it loosened it up. So I got to do the back side, then I'll pull the sink out. So before the prior step, we actually went around the edges here with an X-Acto knife, just to kind of like loosen up whatever the plumber's putty or the caulk that was holding it together. And now that I loosened up this part here, the whole thing kind of like comes out. Okay, so this is the sink kit that I got from Costco to replace our granite sink. It's made by Kohler, and it's the same specs. It's 33 in length, 22 in width, 9-inch depth. And I actually got this on sale at Costco for, it was normally around $3 something, but it had like, I believe like $100 off, or Anyway, it was around $299.99. So this is what comes out of the box. Basically the sink. You have the faucet inside and the shims to kind of like clip the sink in place. And unfortunately, this only has one hole for where the faucet goes, and we're probably gonna have to drill a hole here to accommodate our reverse osmosis filter. So now I got the new sink in, but before we installed the sink, I put like a bead of silicone underneath the bottom here. Some people use plumber's putty, but the Home Depot lady told us we can use the silicone. We used a clear one underneath it. We put like a generous amount so that when we put the sink down, it actually kind of like came out the sides, and we had to wipe it off with like a paper towel with alcohol. And you see the new hole that I drilled last night. Had to go to Home Depot to get a drill bit for that as well. The size was 1 3/8. So these are the clips that go under the sink. I was kind of like confused how this worked at first, because when I put this screw in and I tried to thread it in, it won't go in. And you see this little cap here on top of the screw? This is actually where it sits on the track underneath the sink, and this kind of like helps clip the sink. It goes like this underneath the sink, so it goes underneath the sink, and then when you turn, there's actually a screw underneath here that you can turn to kind of like tighten it. So what you need to do is, instead of threading it clockwise, you have to thread it counterclockwise, as you can see how it goes in. So when you're underneath there and you slide this in the slot with a screwdriver, you can use a screwdriver right here to turn it, to tighten it. So if you turn the screwdriver, see how it pulls it up and tightens it. So I'll show you underneath the sink when I install one of these. So now we have this under the sink to show you how to put this clip underneath. I already have one in there, but just to show you how this goes in, I have this prepared already. And see all these little areas? They have it around the whole strip where you can insert the tip of the screw, and this goes in like so. Right there, it goes there, and it sits right in the track. And you just have to turn this around, and then you turn this with your hand. You turn the screw with your hand to tighten it. Just kind of like help let it sit in place. I kind of like hand tighten that one there, and then you can get a screwdriver and you can finish it by tightening it a little bit more. So that's how those clips work. So the sink kit comes with this nice Kohler faucet, and it comes with all these washers and a tightener screw. This part here will go in here, so you'll have to slide it underneath the two hoses, and it fits underneath here. Just make sure the rubber part is showing, because that's where it contacts the sink. And when this sits in there, there's grooves in there, so you have to align them so that they kind of like click into place. So it makes a whole seal. Otherwise, it'll be sticking out like this, like it's not gonna be flush. So make sure you turn it around so all these little knobs that stick out of the flange sits in the groove. It kind of like clicks into place, and then it's flush. As you can see, the whole thing is flush. And as far as this goes, you have to insert this in the sink, on top of the sink, and these three washers go under the sink. So it'll start with the rubber, and then followed by the metal, and followed by the holding ring. We're gonna slide the faucet in. And then I'm gonna go underneath to attach the rest of the parts. So now we're back under the sink again. So you can see, I'm gonna thread the washers in. So remember the order. The rubber goes in first, followed by the metal washer. It goes in the hole there. Followed by this ring here that has the screws in there, and this kind of like this screws in clockwise. So I'm just screwing this in clockwise. You can see the rubber washer is up there already, and the metal washer is here, and then the screw-in ring here. I'm gonna screw it all the way to the top. Okay, so now I got this hand tightened, and I'm gonna get a screwdriver so I can tighten the screws with a screwdriver. So I'm gonna finish up tightening both sides with a screwdriver. Doesn't have to be too tight, just snug. I did both sides already. So I got the screws tightened on the bottom, and I realized that this was not centered. So this is kind of like sitting at an angle more towards the front of the sink than parallel with it. But I figured it's fine because, you know, when you have wet hands and instead of the water dripping all the way back here, the handle's here and the water drips more like towards the front. So I just left it at an angle that way. And honestly, looking at this setup, I mean, the whole kit came together for $300. The faucet looks kind of weird. It's bigger than I thought, you know, compared with the sink, and it's kind of high up there. I mean, when I install the faucet, it's probably going to be sitting like right around here. Still kind of like a big drop, but anyways, if there's a faucet that goes on sale in the future, it's easy enough to like replace. Okay, now we're gonna install the tubing for the hot and cold from the faucet to the supply lines. So this is my hot water line, this is my cold water line on this side right here, and the faucet lines are labeled. This one is for the cold, and obviously the other one will be the hot. And always make sure you put your pipe thread in around the where the pipe goes in to screw into the lines. And I usually go clockwise. You have to go clockwise with it to go with the thread, so when you tighten it, it doesn't unravel. So I cut a piece of the pipe thread and go around it clockwise just a few times. Kind of like helps seal the area. Do the same thing on the other side, and then you're done. So this part here is the hot water line, and tighten it. And then you finish tightening it with a 17 millimeter wrench. Try not to over tighten it too much. A lot of people try to over tighten it and it causes problems. I'm gonna do the same thing on the cold side. Okay, now I got both sides tightened. Now we have to go do the plumbing. So we will be installing this 1¼ horsepower garbage disposer I got from Costco as well. So these were what came in the box, and so you just have to twist this part off, and this whole thing comes off, and we're gonna install this on the sink first. And for those that are not installing the garbage disposer, the sink kit actually came in these as well, put under the sink. This is kind of like your strainer, but we're not gonna need this. So we will have to take this ring apart from the garbage disposer. You gotta loosen up the screws. Now, once you loosen up the 3 screws here, this thing goes in, and it exposes this little ring in here. You'll have to take this ring, pry this apart, so this whole assembly can slide right off. So what you do is you just get like a flathead screwdriver, and then you kind of like wedge this in between the ring and this part, and you kind of like just pry it out. There you go. So this thing slides right out, and this whole assembly comes right off. And this is where you put this on top of the sink, and this goes on the bottom. Okay, so make sure you have this washer in between this top part that goes in the sink, and then this just goes in the bottom, and then you put this back up underneath like so. Once it's in, you put the clip back in, and then you can tighten these with a screw. So looking at it from underneath, remember this little washer, it goes underneath here, and then followed by this part with the screws, and then you install this ring. Okay, after reading the instructions, I forgot that the plumber's putty is supposed to go around this part here before it goes on the sink, and then the this washer here, it goes actually underneath the bottom with the rest of the parts. So here I have some plumber's putty that I got from Ace Hardware, and it's like Play-Doh. You just roll it out, you know, and then you just go around it just like so, and then you take the rest off, and then just put a generous amount. This way it helps seals the the sink, so this way you make sure you don't have any leaks coming out. And then when you tighten up the washer on the bottom, it's just gonna squish out the leftovers. So now this is how it looks. Just put it inside there. Kind of like wiggle it in, push it in a little bit. Then I'm gonna go underneath. Gonna put this washer and the rest of the. So going underneath there, I have a lot of plumber's putty that was oozing out, so I just scrape off the rest. Again, it's just like playing with Play-Doh. Just scoop out the rest, most of it, and then kind of like pull it down, tighten it up a little bit, and then you put the washer. It almost looks like it's made out of paper or some sort of material. Again, the same order: the washer, the metal disc, this part here where the garbage disposer screws into, and then the hard part is to try to put this ring on. Kind of like have to pry it apart. Okay, so you just have to pry this open with your hand and then push it up there. And that's how it holds it up in place. And then you just tighten up the screws here to push the top part of to tighten up the whole setup. Okay, so you just want to tighten this up a little bit, just so it's snug. The 3 screws on the bottom, not too tight yet. You're gonna make sure the 3 of them are kind of like aligned, so you don't over tighten one over the other. If you look on top, you can kind of like tell, like this part here is too tight, so I have to tighten this part a little bit, so at least it's gonna be aligned. Now that we got the bottom tightened, you can see on top where the excess plumber's putty is sticking out. So you just gotta peel this off and clean it up, and then you're done. So these are the parts that came with the garbage disposer assembly. So this rubber piece here sits right here. And then followed by this ring here. And the screws. And this is where your dishwasher outlet goes into. I'm going to just hand tighten this for now. And this ring here, you kind of like pinch this to open, make it wider, put it in here. And then you attach this plastic piece here, just like so. You push it all the way in. And this ring kind of like helps hold it in place. I made a mistake on this one here. I had to flip it around because there's a little lip on the other end of the pipe, and push it in, it sits in the groove, and put the clip on. Just like that. So I got the water faucet installed with the 2 screws tightened up, as you can see in there. And putting my reverse osmosis faucet back in, just had to turn this clockwise and it sits into place. So I had to cap this one end of my drain lines, because now I only need 1 drain instead of 2, because we only have 1 sink, obviously, instead of 2, or a split one rather. And I have the pipes replumbed with the P-trap going into 1 drain. And actually I didn't need any other parts, I just used the old parts. And if you do the P-trap, make sure it's gonna be below the drain line. The reason for this is because It keeps some water in here to prevent like the smells and the odors coming back from the sewer. And the only thing that I did was I installed the line from the dishwasher, but remember to punch out the cap that's in there. It's placed there for people that don't have dishwashers attached to the garbage disposer. So I just used like the tip of a pencil and I knocked it out, and you have to take it out from the inside. So this is what the cap looks like. Be careful when you reach in there to take it out, because there are some sharp the steel blades in there are sharp. I actually had this tool to tighten the garbage disposer from my old garbage disposer that I saved. I thought it would come in handy, which it did. Because the Costco American Standard garbage disposer did not come with this tool right here. You can use a screwdriver, just kind of like stick it in there and kind of like turn it to help tighten it. The only other thing that came with the garbage disposer is this. It looks like a bracelet thing for the garbage disposer. It's supposed to be a magnet. It's supposed to be attached here. Supposedly it's supposed to help trap any like metal debris that's gonna go down the sink, so it catches it before it goes down to the hole, so it doesn't get ground up. So we're gonna thread this thing through. And then there's a clip right there to clip it together, just like a bracelet. Okay, so I did not install the head to the faucet yet, because the instructions said that you have to run the water for a few seconds to clear out any debris that might be inside the line, and then you can install the head. All right, so one last thing, we gotta put this piece, a cover, a drain for the top. When you insert it, there's a little groove here that kind of like sits into place, locks into place here, a little notch here. So when you push it in, you'll feel the little, just a little bit click, that it seats into place. And that's it. Okay, so I have the water line turned back on. Let's do the test. See, I don't see any leaks. And now water's coming out. Just let it run for like a few seconds. Okay, and now we're gonna turn off the faucet, and then we're gonna install the head. So far so good, no leaks, just to make sure everything looks good. Simple installation of the head, you just gotta turn it clockwise. And then it's kind of neat, you have the little magnet piece that kind of like hooks up right here. Attaches right there, so it keeps it in place. So it's like a little magnet. All right, let's turn the water on. Looks kind of neat. So you have the two options. So the regular water flow is kind of neat. It's kind of streamlined and doesn't splash too much. But with the spray option, it looks like it's a little bit, it splashes around a lot more, so you can see all the mist coming from it. And it pretty much gets the sink kind of wet all around the area. Okay, so we're gonna try the garbage disposer. Give it a try. It's actually pretty neat. It's very quiet. doesn't have that aggravating sound. It's kind of like this nice whirring sound. So far, so good. So since I haven't set up the, since the garbage disposer came with the plug already attached, I just temporarily attached it to a surge protector, and that's how I turn it on and turn it off. But I'll set it up later so that I can do the switch from here. So the sink is pretty spacious as far as putting pots and pans in there. And the only thing is the sinkhole looks like it's kind of like recessed back to the back more than in the middle. I think it's for the water to drain there. So when the water comes down, it doesn't necessarily get into the middle of the hole. But aside from that, I like the sink. The faucet looks a little bit large and huge for me, but that's just the style goes. So you can see that the whole sink can fit like a huge watermelon and still have a lot of room. The only thing with this faucet is it's nice that you can go from different angles. You can't really pull it down as low as you want without really putting a lot of effort into the spring. This is still about like a foot away from the bottom of the sink, and I'm kind of like giving it quite a bit of force. So overall, I really like the look of the sink and the faucet. It looks pretty solid. Looks like it's made out of good material. Don't expect less from a Kohler. And as far as the garbage disposer, I like it as well because it's very nice, it's slim, and it's quiet. It hums. It doesn't sound like a big garbage truck coming around the house collecting your garbage. Overall, I'm pleased with the two products. And now I gotta do all the cleanup. Thanks for watching. So here's an update to my sink. Since I put the sink down and I washed a few dishes, it looked like the dishes kind of like scratches up the sink pretty easily. So I forgot that it came with this little rubber pad. Don't forget to put this on. It kind of like helps protect the sink. And it also came with this other part here, which I don't know what it's for, but the instruction says to put this here, and it installs like this on the side. Most likely it's to put your dishes to dry. And the other, remember the magnetic part that I put in around the garbage disposer? It's kind of neat because I used to have spoons or knives that would fall in, and it will actually fall into the hole. But because of the magnet sitting around the rim here, when the spoon drops in, it actually magnetizes it, so it prevents it from falling all the way in, which is kind of a neat feature. And this is the other reason why I love this sink. I can fit my whole watermelon there. I can cut it up and make all the mess inside the sink instead of the countertop.